Yo, what is good everybody? It's your boy Tej, and today I'm gonna be showing y'all how to make a beat similar to Section 8 and Chichi. It's gonna be one of those more unique, faster, up-tempo beats. Probably something similar to How It Feels and a lot of the stuff that they have in their cook-up vlogs. And I made the whole beat from scratch, so I'm gonna be breaking down my entire process on how I made it, all the way through the loop and the drums. We just hit 1K recently, and as a thank you, I dropped a sample pack. Be sure to go check that out, and I'll also leave the link in the description. As always, I'll have the finished beat played at the end of the video, so be sure to stick around for that. And with all that out of the way, let's just hop right into the beat. Before I start showing y'all the melodies, I'm going to give you a real quick preview of the sample. Alright, so I want to talk about the tempo a little bit. This is kind of unusual for like a Lil Baby or 4PF beat. I'm in the tempo of 107, so for these type of beats, I think something ideal would probably be between like 95 and maybe 115. Anything past 110 might be a little quick for something like this. The core strings melody that you're hearing is from this Poseidon preset pack in Arcade, and I put in this full 8 measure pattern right here. I rendered out the whole thing to the arrangement, and I only took the first two and the last two measures of the pattern. I put those together in sequence, and that became my 4 measure pattern. Then I opened up Omnisphere and I got the LA Custom Grand Piano, and I put in this pattern right here. At first it looks kind of complicated, but it really isn't anything too crazy. It's just using the C minor scale. So the lighter gray notes in the piano roll show where the C minor scale is. Starting off with my first bass note here, I have C, which is the first note in the scale. And if we move this down an octave, you can see our next note is G sharp, which is the 6th. So following the lighter gray spaces, we can count up starting from C. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I repeated that again for my bass note, except I put an A sharp at the end just to kind of give the whole loop resolution and lead back into the beginning. And then I took all those bass notes and I pitched them up by 1 octave, and I started building on top of that. I just took the 5th note up in the scale from each of those. So C, counting up 5 spaces, we go to G, and then just copied that an octave up. And then same thing with G sharp, and went up 5 spaces, we get D sharp, copied that up an octave, and then copied that whole thing and changed the end for A sharp, so the notes were A sharp and F. And once again, copy that right back up. Next, I went to X-Band and I got this Legato Tremolo strings preset, and I put in this top melody to kind of go with my strings and just add a little more depth to it. And the notes that I constructed using this were, again, just using that C minor scale. But for melodies like this, I probably use more of my ear and just what sounds good to me. And then lastly, I got the sub bass sound. And I put in these bass notes that correspond with my lowest notes in the piano melody. So I rendered all those out as audio clips, and I put them together and stemmed them out accordingly, and I got to work on the drums. So now opening up to the new FLP, I arranged out my melody and I started working on the drums, and the only changes that I made is I time stretched it to 107 BPM and moved it down to 106, and then I pitched it up by 1/2 step. So the new key is C sharp minor instead. So starting off with my first drum sound, I got this combo clap that I've been using in all of my last few tutorials. And next I put in this hi-hat pattern, and it's using one of my personal hi-hat midis. However, what I did with this to make it a little different, the original MIDI pattern looks something like this, and in context with the current tempo, it doesn't sound too great. So what I did to change that is I highlighted all the notes and I went to this arrow right here and I condensed it so that my full 8 measure pattern was now condensed to 4 measures, and the hi-hats were suited for the current tempo. So using that pattern, I kind of changed up some of the notes a little bit and I spanned it for the full 8 measures. And so to really get that section 8 chichi type of drum bounce, you can see that a lot of my notes have changes in velocities. A lot of my rolls are using the 1/6 step snap setting, and higher tempos would use the 1/3 step snap setting instead. But pretty much all of these rolls right here, you can see all line up using the grid lines of 1/6 step, and then added the first of my open hats. And then next I added my snare pattern. For this, my main purpose was to take all the space that I had from my clap and just kind of fill it in with some rolls that I felt kind of suited the beat. I pretty much just used the 1/2 step snap setting, and I used the paintbrush tool just to kind of draw in all my rolls and whatnot. And you can see on the bottom that I changed the velocities quite a bit, and that I feel like just adds a lot more character to the snares, along with a lot of other drum sounds, but especially these. And then I added this perk to layer with my open hats. So then I added the first of my 2 808 patterns, and this one's probably the more complicated of the two. These are similar to how you do 808s if you're doing them in lower tempos like in the 80s or 90 BPMs. It's pretty much like doing the 808s in normal time, so like in the 120 to 180 range. You're just filling up half the grid space instead. So for example, for this right here, instead of having this spacing between your notes, you're gonna have it condensed to that size instead. Pretty much all the rolls here are just using the line setting and just adjusting the velocities. I feel like for these high end notes, I probably could adjust the velocities a little more, such as like this. And these rolls are really characteristic for the type of beats that Section 8 and Chichi would use, and along with some of the other drum bounce makes theirs kind of unique and stand out from some of the others. And these rolls right here are just following notes in the C# minor scale. I didn't really pull a scale up and kind of look at it. I just penciled in notes where it sounded good. And then adding my second 808 pattern. This one, like I said, is a little more tame than the first one. Some of the rolls are the same, but I tried to tone it down a little bit just so one, adds a little more variation to it, and two, it's just not overly complicated. Lastly, just to add a little more power to your track and some punch to those 808s, I added this rat kick. So that's pretty much all I got. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Hope you're able to take something away from it. If you liked the video, be sure to hit like. If you want to see more content like this, be sure to hit subscribe. Leave any recommendations you may have in the comments below. And that'll be it for me. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace.